Hello there, and Happy New Year. It feels like 2018 is almost over, doesn't it? Well, we're right back at it again here with the Boots Off podcast. This is episode number 3. And this month I invited an old high school pal of mine who has his own interesting perspective and experiences in life. He grew up as a Navy kid in a Filipino family, took one direction, went to college in California. Then he shifted gears completely and joined the enlisted aircrew world, the 2%ers by the way, in the active duty Air Force. Now, a few years later, he's a reservist on a very different airframe with a very different set of wings, and he moonlights at grad school. So he's a very busy guy, and I was very glad he could spare an hour of his time for me. We do get a little bit off topic at times in this next hour, but don't blame me, that's just human conversation. This is Mr. Senior Class President, Dom Panugaling.
I'm so sorry, we can't do it visually.
No, that's fine. We'll do it the old school way where you didn't actually get to see the person.
Okay.
You remember those days?
Yeah, we just had to call each other.
What were we thinking? I don't know.
Yeah, I find it funny now that we text each other before we call each other, before we used to just call each other.
I don't even call people. I just go straight to FaceTime.
Just get them.
I think it irritates my dad because I always FaceTime him in the car, if he's like at dinner,
Full FaceTime.
Yeah, I don't even know what it's like just to not see somebody anymore.
Yeah.
Until now.
Yeah, it's weird. It's different.
So you're at school right now?
Yeah, so today this is kind of like my independent study day. So I just come here. Right now I'm actually going to be studying for my check ride. It's coming next week.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so I just take the time to go study here at school, and there's like a private room. So I said, hey, might as well just do the interview there.
Hey, not an interview. Not an interview.
Oh, okay.
We just talk. We don't make it all formal.
Okay.
Yeah, interviews are formal. Even when I'm doing my job, with the news, I tell people all the time, this is not an interview, because if you say interview, it freaks people out.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Okay. So how long have you been working on this project?
This is episode number 3.
Okay.
Started in November.
I took a look at the podcast, and I think the one I saw was your trailer for it.
Yeah.
And then the Christmas holiday, like the different charities that you were talking for veterans.
You picked the 2 short ones, right?
I did. I saw the other one. The first one was like 59 minutes. I'm like, no. I'll give it sometime later.
No, but people actually do sit and listen to these things. It's funny and that's part of the reason I wanted to do this was I was thinking, if you listen to podcasts, we all listen to podcasts with like celebrities and health experts and fitness experts, life experts,
Yes.
And it's like, well, why can't we talk to people about their military transitions, and their time in the military? Let's talk to the more ordinary kind of people.
That's true.
And people actually do listen. So it's cool.
The last time I saw you was 2016. I believe you were transitioning from Yokota.
Transitioning, yes.
Yeah. Oh well, I remember you were having like kind of like you're trying to your options, what you were gonna do, and I remember that was the last time we spoke. You were either gonna go to DC or go back to the Midwest. So I saw you went back to Arizona.
I was in Japan working at AFN, and you stopped in just on a flight you were working on as a C5, right? C5 loadmaster.
Yeah, I have a C5 load, yeah.
And you just would pop in every now and then, and so that was cool. We got to go out for dinner. We had that awesome sushi place.
Yeah.
We went for bagels or something, dude, didn't we?
I think we saw each other on 2 different occasions, maybe 3. I think. You know what? Actually, yeah, we did, because we did do sushi, and then the next time we had breakfast.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you were on a C5 and it would keep breaking, and there would be weather issues and whatnot. So always fun. I remember my C-130 days. Just hoping that we would break somewhere
Yeah.
and that people didn't know how to fix it.
Like, what is this thing?
And then, but there was one time we were really hopeful,
Yeah.
or I was like, yes, we're not going to have to fly today.
Yeah.
We get to stay here in this African place,
Yes.
staying in a resort. And the flight engineer just took a helmet, one of our flight helmets,
Yeah.
and just banged it on the wall. And it fixed the problem.
Just a little kick.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
Just take a beating and it works. So, how you doing?
Mike, I'm doing just fine. When we last saw each other, I hadn't started school yet. I started school August of 2016. So that kind of changed my schedule when it came to flying. But yeah, that's I started. My schedule was flying before. I used to be. I was on orders. It's a little bit different for flying reservists.
You weren't always a loadmaster.
No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't.
You actually, when I first found out you were going to exercise the option of enlisting,
Mm-hmm.
you were interested in criminal justice.
That's correct. So, there's been a lot of crossroads in my life, and I went to college first. I went to college right after high school here in Sacramento, and I was very interested in criminal justice, everything about law, criminology, and whatnot. So I went to school here. Sac State might be a little bit of a plug, but Sacramento State
It's very popular.
It's a very competitive program. So I went there, and our old friend Alex Landon, who is, I believe he's retired Army now. Oh, not retired. I mean, not retired.
He's just living the dream.
He's doing something else now. When I last saw him, he's doing something else in Washington. But he was my connection there in Sacramento State, and I went to school there. I had the ambition to be a Navy officer. My dad was a Navy enlisted. He was a chief. Sadly, I did not get picked up for the officer candidate school. My package, what they said, wasn't competitive enough.
Was this to go into like ROTC or?
Oh, it was. I didn't do ROTC. I finished college, and then I'm going to be very open. I didn't really prepare well enough for what happened after school, and I applied for jobs, and my dad really pushed, why don't you do the military? You have a degree, let's go officer. So I did. I tried to apply for it. Sadly, I wasn't accepted. At the time, it was very competitive for officer candidate school for the Navy, and the people they were selecting were people who were already professionals in the civilian world. And I was like 20, 21, and I was like, oh man, I did part-time retail jobs when I was going to school. I used to work at the Navy Exchange, so it wasn't really competitive enough. So I just said, why don't we enlist, but make clearance jobs a priority? And the recruiter, she was pretty good. She was able to look for air crew kind of jobs, and I got a job up for it was a what's it called? Airborne Mission System Specialist. Basically, I was a computer technician on the E3 Sentry, or what they call the AWACS, with the big radar on top. That's what I got my job for. And I wasn't in the DEP program for a while. I was only probably 3 or 4 months. Like, hey man, we got you up for a job. So I left December 6th, 2010 at night, and then December 7th is my enlistment. That's when it began.
That's into the Air Force, though.
Yeah,
I feel like
in the Air Force.
I feel like we just jumped a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So you went to Sacramento State. You got your degree out of there, right? 4 years at Sac State.
Yes.
What major?
Criminal justice.
Criminal justice. Then you tried to get into the Navy.
Yeah.
But they were looking for more professional, more mature in the job.
That's correct.
Right.
Yes.
So you just said, all right, that's enough of that. What else can we do? What are the other options? So you approached the Air Force then?
That's correct.
Did they send you directly to the AWACS, like to that job?
Oh yes, yes. When you come into the enlistment office, you list down to give you like a big, uh, like a pamphlet. You look at jobs, and then I just listed down jobs that had secret clearance.
Hmm.
So, and most of them were like operational jobs. So, and that's the one I got picked up for.
Yeah, same with me. So they gave me three options, and I was like, okay, boom operator on a tanker, loadmaster,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe another one was air traffic controller. And I was like, yeah, these are going to be good. And then they selected me for a loadmaster, and I went guaranteed into that. But I thought there was a time when the recruiter was trying to tell you
Oh yes,
you could go into security
security
forces
forces, and you
and
can.
easily go become an officer and really just live the dream that way.
Thank you for reminding me about that, Mike. So yeah, I did because of my degree. They said, "Oh, well, yeah, exactly. You can enlist, go security forces, and then there's like just go to OTS and whatnot. Be really fast." It sounded really. It sounded very. They were advertising it. It was really good how she was. But you came in. I remember I spoke to you right away because you were at the time you were a loadmaster, and I spoke to you. I was like, "Hey, man, this is what they're trying to do," and you're like, "Maybe give it a second glance, right? Maybe you don't."
That's a polite way to put it.
take another look at what you have. So I said, okay, why don't we shift the arrangement? So yeah, so I'm grateful for coming to you before jumping right away into something that might have been different, might have been not my fate.
I'm so glad you took that extra look.
Yeah,
Oh my
and I
gosh.
met a lot of people who retrained from security forces who became aircrew members, and it was like night and day for them, and they were happy they made a transition to retrain and everything. So because it was a different work ethic.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was
Yeah.
sitting there in the dorms on Medina Annex where they got where they used to have, at least, I don't know if they still do, the enlisted aircrew school.
Oh
I was sitting there at the dorms
yes. Oh
because
yeah.
I had an issue in the altitude chamber. I went in with some bad Texas allergies
Oh okay.
and had some ear issues.
Yeah yeah.
So I was deniffed. I couldn't fly or anything. Couldn't train for several weeks.
Yeah.
But I was sitting there on MySpace. It must have been chatting with Aaron Taylor,
Yes yes.
and he was like, "Oh, so my brother Jared, when I told him you went in the Air Force, he's like, oh, you should have let me know, and I would have hooked him up with a TAC-P job." Like, dude, do you not know who I am? I would not work in TAC-P. At the time, that sounded really cool. Like, those are the guys with the secret missions and they're
Yeah,
uh,
they set things up
parachuting from planes like Mission Impossible or whatever, and
exactly, and they would set
it's
things.
insane.
Yeah.
I can't do that kind of stuff, but I was like, oh yeah, thanks for the offer, but no.
I'm okay.
Certainly fine with what I'm doing. You went AWACS. How was that?
Oh, I enjoyed it. So people, but itself, it was a different experience. It was a little bit more laid back in California. But the people, they made it special for me. The people I trained with, we got really close. The AWACS itself wasn't. It was like it was extraordinary experience. We went to. I didn't do a lot of TDYs. Most of the missions, the Loadmaster thing has been very unique for me because AWACS, we would just fly in the same area for hours on end, like 20 plus hours, just doing surveillance. That's what they do. And then you come back to your base. We wouldn't hop to different areas like Dakota or Spain. We wouldn't do stuff like that. So it was unique for me.
You say
So
20 hours. That's not 20 hours in the air, right? That's like
oh no, that's 20 hours.
just not touching the ground, just staying up in the sky.
Staying up in the sky. We'd have three aerial refuelings. Three.
Man, so like flying over the Pacific is
Mhm.
nothing to you.
No, not at all. And when I hear like other people like at other loadmasters, they fly like We would do direct to Yokota like we did, and that was like 11 to 12, and it was grueling for a lot of people. But for me, I've just gotten used to it.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh.
yeah, um, like 10 hours to Ramstein, I believe, and that's grueling enough. And people complain; they're very like, "Man, this is crazy." I was like, "That's funny," because that was our typical like 10 hours. Like, wow, that was a quick mission. So, so yeah.
Well, and what's it like inside? Like, are you able to stretch out, or is it pretty tight, like you're flying in coach?
Oh no, you're able to stretch out. Actually, when I fly commercial, I feel like I'm constricted because in the AWACS, once you get into cruise, and everything, the systems are working. My job on the plane was to basically load up the computer system, and all of the things that they need to do, all their secret stuff. And I just maintain it. If there's anything that goes wrong, or the system goes wrong, then we have procedures to bring the system back up, restart it, change the memory, whatnot.
You're the
Basically,
IT guy in the sky.
exactly. So if you remember like Saturday Night Live, Nick Burns, that was a running joke. Um, Jimmy Fallon's IT character, like "You're
Yeah.
welcome," that was the running joke. And basically, if I was basically I was starting. I would always start like a LAN party, like those Warcraft LAN party type things. That was my job, to start those big computer parties in the sky for everyone to do their job. And I did it for 3 years. So 1 year of training and then 3 years of flying.
So you said you didn't get to go TDY all that often, but did you get to actually take some pretty good trips?
I did. So I did an extended TDY, or controversially a deployment, down in the Caribbean. People, they always uh, change the title, but I would call it extended TDY. We were there for about 6 months down in the Caribbean, doing some surveillance down there, and it was a very fun experience because we stayed in Curacao, and we did operations there. That was our base. So we fly around and then land back in Curacao. And during the downtime, you get to go to the beach, go to the restaurants and whatnot. So that was a very fun experience. And then I did my two other. I did about 4.5 months in Abu Dhabi, over there in UAE. We did operations over there, Afghanistan, um, Iraq, and stuff. We'd fly over
Yeah.
there. Yeah, so that was those are a little bit shorter, but those are more grueling missions. Those are actually like the real military stuff. But so it was because of the AWACS, and they gave me a lot of flight hours, a lot of experience, confidence, and becoming an aircrew member, and I'm very thankful. Sadly, I didn't want to stay any longer than I had to, and I wanted to come back after my enlistment. Look for something else different,
Right.
extend extend my educational benefits.
So when we say that you were down in the Caribbean, flying around Curacao and whatnot for surveillance, that's stuff that we can actually discuss, right? That's not like it's super sealed.
Super sealed. I apologize. I have to keep it pretty, like, just very vague.
Yeah, but like we can
that's
mention what you've already said.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. Exactly. AWACS is known to be the big surveillance thing. It's like a big air traffic control in the sky, basically. So that's what they do. They extend the eye bigger. They're actually, AWACS is actually meant to be for fighter pilot, for fighter squadrons. So that's why we were part of the air ACC, the Air Combat Command.
Yep.
That's what we were a part of. So we assisted fighter pilots and whatnot, and then over there in the Middle East, that's what we were more active with. Fighters going out there, soldiers on the ground. That was a big thing.
Oh yeah, all about communications.
Exactly.
You did a few years in the AWACS.
Yes.
And decided to exit the active duty life.
Yes, that's correct.
But did you know what you were going to do though when you got out?
Well, my intention right away was to actually go to school. What I'm doing right now, that was my big thing, to improve my resume and whatnot. So go back to school, reap the benefits of the VA. But at the same time, and when I was getting ready to leave, probably like my fourth year, when it was time to go, I didn't. I spoke with my dad and other counselors. They said that my dad said, don't waste this experience you had in the middle, like the air crew, especially that job, your flight hours and whatnot. So, but I kept in touch with two other loadmasters when I was at the time, now Lackland. Lackland is now the air crew training area now. And I met
Mhm.
two people there who were going to be reservists, and they were stationed in Travis. So I kept in touch with them off and on when I was active duty. When the time came, I talked to them. Hey man, what does it take to get into your squadron if I want to retrain? And they right away they gave me a phone number, and I had to apply to the job just like a civilian job. I had to have a resume ready, come to the squadron in civilian clothes, just neat and professional. And they're gonna just question me if I'm ready to be if I'm accepted to be a loadmaster. So, because I wanted something to continue my secret clearance, to keep that active. So when I do apply for jobs, which will be this year, I like to add it. I add it to my resume, something for employers to see.
So then the process was just
It was
sort of having those connections in the reserve already, and they really helped you out, huh?
Yes, yes, and that's what I learned. When I came to the squadron now that I'm in Travis, uh, people didn't just walk. They weren't off the street. It was seldom to have some guy right off the street that they didn't know. It was always like, who do you know in the squadron? Because it's almost like what they say, like it's like the best kept secret as like a reservist loadmaster, because you get to fly on your own time. So you get to pick your schedule. Like active duty, you flew when they told you to fly. Like that, your name's on the
Oh yeah.
board. You don't decide, oh, you know what, can I fly on like Friday? And you just like you're there. It has to be something like some circumstance like, oh, I got DNIF or something that can change everything. But other than that, active duty was pretty grueling as a flyer. But reservists, they cater to your schedule. Like that if you can't fly on a certain time, it has to be like something crazy. But they never get to the point where they pressure people. It's a very like independent program. People take care of their own stuff. If you want to fly, you let them know when. You give them your schedule. So, but yeah, I think what they call a palace chase is when active duty you just blend right into reservists. There's no break in service. That's what I.
That's the so Palace Chase is when you can separate
Oh,
early
early
from active duty,
palace front.
and Palace Front is at the end of your enlistment. Yeah, it's just one day, like January 16th, is your last day of active duty. January 17th is your first day of reserve duty.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. 27 June was my last day of active duty. 28 June was my first day of my reserve contract. But then I didn't even go into the office. I didn't work with my unit until August or September. I had a couple months in between where I could ease into my civilian life and my civilian job. And that was pretty nice. Did you have anything like that as well?
Yes, I when I went to squadron, I didn't become a reservist until like January 10th. So there was like 3 weeks where I was just doing nothing. Um, so I was basically on vacation. And then when I came to Travis, um, they had to re-enlist me into the reserves. So there was just a moment in time where there's a break. But other than that, I came into the reserves January 16, 17. But but I didn't do my first UTA. Oh, actually, no, my first UTA was February of 2015. So
That makes sense. Yeah.
yeah,
So not too much of a hassle then.
not too much of a hassle. And then when I had to go back to tech school to do their Loadmaster course, yeah, that was like after the first UTA. Then March, me and another colleague of mine, we left together. We actually drove back to San Antonio, and then we just got BAH and everything. I stayed over there at Kelly and just trained to be a Loadmaster for the C5. And then
That was nearly a year, right?
yeah, and they put you on orders for training, and then yeah, the orders must have lasted. I was from like 2015 all the way to for a year. Yeah, for a year of orders, and then once that was finished, I went right to school. So in the middle while training, I was preparing my VA package. I don't know the applying for school, going to Phoenix, and everything that was happening at the same time.
So back to active duty. What would you say was like the most eye opening thing? Because you grew up military. We all, both of us grew up military.
Yes, that's correct.
And
yeah.
So we were sort of accustomed to the military life, but we weren't, serving in uniform as kids. So going into the Air Force, what was kind of an eye opener for you?
Yeah. So as a military child, being dependent, we were just used to always seeing our parents working and in uniform, but didn't ask too many questions. We're just kind of just used to the environment. But going into the military, the Air Force, which I'm very grateful for, I learned a lot about waiting. Man, that's the first thing that pops in my head. Like just a lot of like waiting around for things to happen. Uh, Anticipation. That was a big feeling I got. Like you train really hard, um, and then you wait, and that's something I learned. I learned to be more patient now in the military, but at the same time be cautious. As growing up in the military, I just didn't really pay attention to that stuff. But now I'm more active, and the military has kind of heightened my senses and made me more aware of my surroundings. And yeah, so just waiting and being anticipated. Those are the words. It's very general, but at the same time, I learned what it's like to be in like a bureaucratic type of area. There's a boss, you're an employee.
Lots of bosses.
Lots of bosses, and long hours. But it made me tougher. It made me tougher.
I mean, you look good too. You lost a lot of weight when you went in.
Thank you. I did. I kind of gained a little bit back.
Never brought that up, but I want to say like it did. I think the military probably had a little bit of influence on your fitness level.
It did. I'm really grateful for that, and I might have gained a little bit back. I'm not as trim. They always say basic training is the best you ever be in your life, and I believe that. But I'm very grateful because of the fitness programs and keeping yourself active. When I was younger, I was always overweight, and I didn't think about it until I guess when I was in college. I just ate. I just ate things. I didn't think about it, and the military kind of kept me aware about that, and it made me happy because now I can run. That was my biggest fear when I was younger. I cannot run. Like PE class, I'd struggle. Even in football practice, man, I was just like, I'm used to getting hit and stuff, but that running part, like the 1 mile run at the end, it made me scared. And I used to see you just fly by. I was like, man, I wish I could at least keep up. I don't have to be the fastest guy, but I don't want to stop. I used to run and then walk. But now I'm a lot more confident, and I might not be the fitness guru, but at the same time, I feel more confident, and the military brought that to me.
I mean, you've always had a very good personality, very positive, at least on the outside. I don't know what's happening inside your head.
Yeah.
But I never saw you as someone who would get very impatient or anything like that. So I figured you would do well in anything you did. For our senior year, you were the president, the class president. So
yeah.
you were a well-rounded person. Never stabbing anyone in the back like some people either. So that's good to bring into the military.
Well, I had good friends, Mike. I had good friends. It's funny. It was funny during one of my TDYs. Actually, it was the one when I saw you. We were going to Kadena after Yokota, and we broke there. And I saw Miss Falls in the commissary because she's stationed there with Mr. Falls.
Oh wow! Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Falls is a doctor now. So he was once a pilot.
He is, yeah.
And so he's Dr. Falls now. But it was funny, like just seeing her, and it was like a culmination of everything, military, high school, everything, and it was a great seeing her again. I told her I just saw Mike yesterday, and she just laughed so hard, and that was good. And my crew was like, "Who are you talking to?" I was like, "Oh, it's my teacher when I used to live in Italy." And it sounded so crazy because a lot of the guys in the military that were in my squadron they grew up here in California, in the States. But when, oh yeah, she used to be my teacher in Italy. They were so confused. Like, okay, where are you from? Like that. So just moving around and traveling, it's almost second nature. Like some people are amazed, but for me, like, oh, we're gonna go to Kadena, cool, like that. I do enjoy it though, but it's not always it's just it's almost like our way of life.
Yeah, we seem to know somebody just about everywhere.
We went to Guam after Kadena, and then I used to live in Guam before Italy. I was there for my middle school days, and I ran into a friend who was at the bar. He was performing reggae music. I said, Matt? He's like,
What?
Dom? Yeah, his name was Matt the Blonde, and he plays reggae music at the downtown club. And we happened to be staying at a hotel down at that time in Guam. And I went there and said, Matt Sublime. He said, Dom, how are you? I keep in touch with him on Facebook, but seeing each other in person, it's been like more than 10 years. So it was fun. But he was busy at the time, so we didn't have dinner, but it was good seeing them. But it just showed like how far we've gone as military children. Like we're all spread out. There's always somebody we know somewhere.
So I was in Afghanistan, the end of 2013 to the beginning of 2014, and
Yes.
AFN. So I was working there as a broadcast journalist, just reporting stories from around the entire country.
Yes.
We had technicians as well that worked with us, and just in case things broke, they needed to fix something, right? So
Yeah.
I was over there in Afghanistan with some sailors, some Marines, some soldiers, and other airmen. And then fast forward, skip to 2017. It's late summer, and I am in San Diego with my family. And we just walk into the zoo. We didn't plan everything out too much, but we were like, yeah, we'll go to the zoo tomorrow morning. So we went and got tickets through ITT and went to the zoo that morning. And I walk into the gate, and just to my left, I see a guy there in a Navy uniform.
Yeah.
And like he looks at me at the exact same time, and we're like, oh my gosh, what are you doing here? Like this was the guy that I was deployed with in 2013, and I just see him inside the gate at the San Diego Zoo while I'm on vacation with my family.
Yeah.
That was insane, right? And he was like, yeah, we're just here for a few hours. We got some time off the ship, so we thought we'd go to the zoo. And he might have been there for, I think it was someone else's reenlistment. It might have been his, though. I don't know.
They do it a lot there, reenlistments in the zoo. I see that often. I hear about that.
Yeah, it was so bizarre. But then I thought about it for a second. I'm like, this isn't that out of the ordinary. I see people all the time.
Yeah.
It's my past.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like being in the military, it's almost like we're in there's another world too. Like there's the big world, and then we have that world too where we see each other like, hey, like that. And I remember you. Yeah. When did you go to San Diego, by the way? I know it's off topic.
We were there like back in September or so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just came back from there. I have a girlfriend. I have a girlfriend now, Mike. I didn't tell you yet. I have a girlfriend now.
Moving up in the world. Look at that.
I did. I am. And we went to San Diego as well. That's it.
Yeah, we were there. We did a day on the beach. We did a day at the zoo and in the city, and then we went up to Anaheim.
Oh, okay.
And
Disneyland?
by the way, yep, Disneyland. A couple days there. By the way, Irvine, California. You've probably been there. They've got this little sort of a Japanese Asian center in Irvine.
Yeah.
Where there's Coco's Curry is right there. There's a pepper lunch there. A Japanese bakery right there. There's a Kona coffee. That place it's the place to go. If it wasn't so expensive, I'd be moving out there tomorrow.
You know what? I heard about Coco Curry down in SoCal. I didn't know where it was though. I was like, what? Do you have Coco's here? Oh man.
Well, they're actually spread out. They have a lot more than I thought they did initially. There are Coco's all over California.
Oh man.
So
Okay.
just
I don't think there's.
get some
I
today.
know there's a pepper. I've heard my sister told me about a pepper lunch. It's over here by near San Jose. So it's about a 90-minute drive. But she said there's a pepper lunch. So I
Mm,
was like, oh okay.
pepper lunch is good too.
I never tried it, so I saw pictures of it. It looks very tasty. Um,
Oh yeah, they just bring it out. It's rice with some vegetables. Not too much vegetables. I mean, there's more meat on there, but they give you this like a fajita skillet, of raw meat and some rice and corn
yeah.
and sauce
Hmm.
and pepper all over that stuff. That's why it's pepper lunch. And then it just cooks. You stir it up and it
It's
cooks.
like a hot plate.
It is good.
Okay.
Very hot.
Okay.
Very hot.
Okay.
But yeah, that's good stuff. Head down to Irvine when you get some time. I know it's kind of a far drive
It's
from
like
Northern
probably
California.
probably 6 hours. Yeah.
California is so big.
Yeah. It's like it's long.
Yeah,
It's not wide. It's long.
yeah, kind of like, I mean, Texas is just massive itself, but
Yeah, I
we could
know.
travel
Yeah, it
Texas
is.
anytime. Like we were up in the middle of nowhere in Abilene and San Angelo, and we would just drive down to San Antonio or Houston, Austin,
Hmm.
head up to Dallas. Not a big deal. But California, it's just you have a
Hmm.
long drive if you want to get from the north to the south.
Yeah, it's from Sacramento to San Diego. It's like 8 hours, but then traffic makes it longer. If you get hung up in the rush hour time, um, you can get hung up there 9 hours drive, almost 10-hour drive.
Well, you should think about getting your pilot's license.
Yeah.
You could just make some day flights down there.
Yeah. Have a what's that, Cessna, the small planes, just fly over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I got a question by the way. What do you do?
Yes.
What do you do in the reserves? Is it the same thing like AFN, like the broadcasting stuff?
Pretty much. So we are public affairs
Okay.
and protocol,
Oh,
which
okay.
protocol is a pretty simple task when you're just there to help set up a stage and the flags and podium and all that.
Okay.
And then I run the soundboard when we need a soundboard. So it's not that daunting. But then the rest of my time is just internal and yeah, pretty much internal, not too much external
Yeah.
video production.
Oh, okay. So you help out a lot with like the change of command and retirements and whatnot in the base?
Yes. Yeah, we do a lot of that.
Okay.
I want to go and ask you one more active duty question. Did you have any regrets from your active duty time, or did it go pretty smooth?
It went pretty smooth. I have no regrets. I won't change my experience. I'm very grateful for it. But I'm also my transition too. I have no regrets from my the moves I've made. I have no regrets. These it's all going according to plan. I'm just kidding, but I was very grateful.
That's good. Yeah, world domination is on the horizon for you, isn't it? So school, talk to me about school. How's school going? And did you get back into Sacramento State, or what are you doing?
Okay, so I am in the University of Phoenix. So initially, I applied for two schools. I applied for San Francisco State and University of Phoenix. You can San Francisco State. I was trying to go into their public policy graduate school, um, and I just wanted to get involved with local government, state working, working for the state. So I applied there first. Sadly, and I'm kind of used to it in my life, I wasn't accepted. They kind of gave me we regret to inform you, your this and that was good, but it's just not at our standard. Good luck at your future endeavors. So then
Wow, that's brutal.
yeah, so I went to Phoenix, and they're a little bit more lenient. They're not as rigid, strict when it comes to applying, but still, you had to have a bachelor's degree. You had to have a certain GPA to come in here. So they still have a system here that is pretty strict. Came here, and the best thing about Phoenix is they cater a lot to veterans. So they were prepared. They knew what type of person I'd be like, okay, we handle a lot of veterans. The Sacramento campus is the biggest campus here in Northern California, um, and a lot of students come here. So we have a library here, we have a computer lab, study rooms. So coming here, uh, the way the program works, we do it's actually just once a week. So we're on site campus, and the way for the VA, you actually have to go to school. You can't if you want to do online, that's fine, but you won't get the full BAH rate. You actually have to go to like a brick and mortar school where you have an attendance.
Right.
So Phoenix, their system is already prepared for veterans. Like you come in, you sign in, and then they submit the attendance sheet to the VA. That way, they can accredit you and they can give you the amount of BH needed. So that depends on how much you show up at school, your attendance. So if you only show up for like out of 5 classes, you show up for like 3 classes, you get prorated for that. That's how much you'll get paid. So it is your prerogative to go to school every day, like that. Go to school. So and that's been a challenge a couple times. I've actually came here. I've never missed a class because I've tried to get my schedule for flying to accommodate my school. But there have been times when missions took longer, and I actually came to school at night in a flight suit just to sign in.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, because even though I might get like 2 points off on attendance, I needed to get paid. So if you miss two,
But they understand, right?
they do
Like,
understand.
Are they able to write? Are they able to write sort of kind of excuse letters or whatnot, just to excuse you of your absence?
So we all have certain like career, financial, and academic advisors, and I told them my situation. That I'm not just a veteran. Like I'm not just like going to school. I still serve as a reservist, but my job it requires me sometimes to leave the country, and there could be delays uh, to that job and the flying, and they understood it. And what happened is, if you miss 2 weeks of class, they will drop you from the course.
Ooh.
So, for example, my upcoming mission, my check ride has to be on a longer mission, and luckily the mission ends. So my class, sorry, I'm kind of jumping around, but my class schedule, I only go to school on Mondays, but because of they give a lot of homework as a graduate student, and I don't know how people do it that have full-time jobs, but it's enough to keep me busy for a week. So like today, I have to start a paper. We do papers every week, so and we have to do research and whatnot. Um, so luckily, I don't have to go to school every. There's not a lecture every day, but that Monday, every Monday, I have to be there from 6 to 10 p.m. before our class. Sign in.
What's your program?
My program is a master's in business administration. It's a very general business course that goes through leadership, accounting, statistics, marketing, every big management courses. So,
Are you still interested in like public policy stuff?
yeah, what the business administration, it's very fluid. It can kind of find a lot of different jobs in at least the admin and kind of area. They're teaching us to be, if you want to start my own business, they do that too, entrepreneurship. That's a class too. Yeah. So we learn about that. But if I'm still very interested in state, federal, and local government kind of jobs. So I've been on USA Jobs a lot, California government jobs.
Now you said if you miss 2 weeks of class, they drop you from the course. Now, would I be right to say that that's detrimental to your VA status and all that as well? Because you're not going to be a full-time student if they drop you, are you?
That's correct. So it's very, and I spoke to my counselor about that, and I said, what happens? Like kind of like worst case scenario, there's a mission that just extended longer than it has to be, and I crossed those 2 weeks. They said that it's kind of like a case by case basis. If I were to give if I gave a heads up on what's going on, they could fight for me and kind of keep me in the program longer. But yes, it's very detrimental if I just miss 2 courses, and it's to my VA, and that's why Right now, actually, this is my last class, so I'm not too worried anymore about missing classes. I think we're able to knock it out, but it was a very big problem towards the middle of the program. There were some close calls, but I've been able to make all my classes. There was one time we landed at 7 p.m. and I called the professor in the plane while we were unloading cargo. Like, I'm here. I will be there. And I arrived at class at 8:30. I was able. The load master was like, "We got it." Because with you typically, so C-130, you guys usually have two load masters, correct?
Uh,
That's like
yeah, it would be one or two.
one or two. Um, for the C5, we have to have at least three qualified load masters. But because of people's schedules and everyone's usually like a reservist, they like to put the crew bigger than it has to be. They're like 8 load masters, right? Because everyone is trying to get that those hours in, trying to get their currency hack. They said so. There'd be 8 people there to unloading like one car, like a baggage pallet, And so it's like I said, hey guys, I think that I hurry up, and then they're pretty cool with it. They understood, so I hopped out and I was able to get to class in time. But it's happened twice, but they didn't really freak out about it. So they're very lenient.
Yeah, they were the professors I had at Arizona State online. They were pretty cool as well because I
Yeah.
was in Japan and I was doing
Mm-hmm.
regional around the Pacific kind of reporting. So I would be in, getting ready for a trip to Australia, into the outback,
Yes.
camping out with Marines, and I would have to email my professors and say, look, there's a very good chance I am not going to have any access to the internet for 2 weeks.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
they're like, all right, we'll work with you when you get back. It's like, okay, sweet. Very easy to work with when you're dealing with military TDYs and whatnot. They don't completely
They
understand.
don't understand what we do. Yeah.
The professors don't completely understand what we're trying to do with these military trips. They might think you might be just going on a vacation sometimes,
True.
but
True.
they will definitely work with you. In my experience, and it sounds like in your experience too.
Yes.
Now, what's the next step for you? How is all this working out? The transition, you said there's no regrets, but everything's going smooth still, and you're on the right path. Yeah.
This is the right path. There's a little bit of fear because after I'm finished with the VA, with going to school, there's gonna be a moment where I'm really gonna have to rely on being a reserve loadmaster while I look for a job. So my program ends in March, and so for the time being, and there are people in our squadron who are not professionally employed outside in the civilian world, and they rely on flying because the way reserve loadmasters work, they give us pay statuses. So depending on the mission, so let's say we're going to be doing a big Pacific mission that has like we're stopping in 5 different places. The active duty frees up 3 slots for 3 loadmasters. They're called MPA. I forgot what that stands for, but it's MPA pay status slots to fill this mission. So they have 2 MPA slots for pilots, 2 MPA slots for engineers, and 3 for loadmasters. So there are people who have lived off TDYs and flying for the active duty. As a reservist, they found ways to continue earning money as a loadmaster, keeping their schedule open and flying because some people don't have like full-time jobs. So that's something that it's going to be kind of like there's going to be a momentary lapse where I probably going to be relying on that before I find a full-time gig, like a real career changing thing. So that's something I'm excited but fearful in the same time because financially it's going to change. So I'm going to have to make some accommodations for certain things.
Well, it sounds like I'm going to need to make my way back into the loadmaster world. Sounds like a pretty good gig there. So, what kind of jobs?
Yeah.
What kind of jobs are you looking for, though?
So currently, I've just been applying to. I went on it's called USA Jobs, and I would just type in like administration here in California, and it was stuff that deals with scheduling, the office work. It's very general. The the same time, I've been applying for companies that require like marketing assistant. Like I applied for Yelp, Funko. Funko is like this toy company.
Yep.
Yeah, they make the little pop toys. So I've just been sending it out. Sadly, like I got a reply from the Department of Justice that says, "Hey, we like your thing, but you're just not qualified in certain points." So the government, what I've learned from my classmates here, it's kind of challenging to apply for the government sometimes because they look for specific things in your resume. So I have to constantly keep changing certain words and catering it to that specific job.
Yeah,
So
that's something that they did teach me in transition assistance, the TAPS class, that
yes,
you want to tailor your resume to the job descriptions.
yeah.
And it's a very valuable tool to
Mm-hmm.
have in your back pocket that not everyone's going to do when they're applying to jobs just because it is a lot of work. So a lot of people are going to think, yeah, they don't care about that. But then they're not going to get the jobs because their computer systems are searching for these keywords
Exactly.
and you're the one that's going to go and put in that extra 5 minutes to change your resume up and attach it, and you'll get the job because you've got the right keywords.
The right keywords. Yeah.
So it's actually very important, and you wouldn't always think that it is, but just that little bit of extra work can go a long way.
Some of the people in my class right now, one of them, there is a couple of veterans in there, and my class started out with like 13 or 14 people. Now we're like down to 4 people in the program because a lot of people just dropped the program because of their schedules. They weren't interested anymore. But the veteran, there's one guy. He's in my group. He was like medically discharged, something like that. So he had the VA, but then now he's on like this other like I forgot what it's called, but it's like Voc rehab. It was like another thing where since he was medically discharged and he has a certain percentage on his it's called vocational rehabilitation.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so he just goes to school forever,
Yeah,
depending on how long the program is.
so they'll help you out, the VA, with your benefits. That's awesome to know.
Definitely, but the thing with the VA is you have to ask the right questions and you have to be very proactive with how your paperwork is done and when you get paid because in the military being active duty sometimes you're used to being kind of like spoon fed or your hands held sometimes people reminding you but when you get out no one reminds you anymore. So you have to make the phone calls, you have to make the appointments because there's not going to be a scheduler waiting to do it for you. So that's one thing with the VA, like they'll do it for you but you have to be you have to ask the right questions and be proactive.
Yeah, it's tough to find the right people to ask those questions to as well.
Yes.
But you gotta be dedicated, I guess. I've been learning the same kind of things with getting my medical records from my previous base.
Yes.
It's not a very fun process.
It's not.
You're in the Filipino community.
That's correct.
And I know you guys are always really tight. I'm just not sure. Do you have any personal passion projects, any organizations you're involved with since you've left active duty, anything like that?
Oh, truthfully, I haven't.
Okay.
I'm not.
You don't have time for that, man.
No. When we were like dependents, when we were kids, we were part of like the local Filipino American community on the base. But after that, I just kind of did my own. I kind of got very discouraged when I went to college. I was looking forward to doing something like that, but some of the members of that Filipino club weren't very inviting. So they kind of gave me gave me a sour taste in my mouth. So I ended up not being part of a lot of the big Filipino movements and everything. Yeah, it's been kind of a little bit of an internal struggle sometimes, being a Filipino American, and sometimes there's sort of a competition sometimes, and so I kind of just like I'm gonna take care of my priorities, my family. My dad and my mom, they're part of like an older community of Filipinos that they associate with over in the Bay Area, but it's not really like it's just like for the older folks.
So is that sort of not camaraderie, but that kind of organizational thing, is that kind of fallen apart with the generations?
It's changed. It's so different now with how the generations have changed with all the activism and cultural, like letting everybody know about their culture, because I think everyone has their own interpretation of the culture. Uh, and the big thing is like there's a big difference between Filipinos that grew up here in the States and Filipinos who migrated here from the Philippines. They have two different perspectives, and it's kind of hard to get everyone in the same picture. I've always struggled because I was a Filipino American with my dad, but I was a military kid, and we moved around a lot. And there was never enough time to really get set up with the. When I came to the States, when I came to college here, I was a lot different than the Filipino kids that grew up here in California. Like it almost felt like we were speaking different languages in a way. Like we just knew different things. Um, and I felt a little bit more closer with sometimes with Filipinos from the Philippines, but still, I didn't grow up in the Philippines, so I was almost like in the middle of everything, you know. Um, so it was hard for me to associate sometimes with certain clubs on campus, in the base when an active duty. We didn't have a very strong Filipino American community club type thing. I had Filipino friends, but it wasn't as solid as when I was a dependent. The Filipinos during my dad's generation, they came from the Philippines. They were a lot solid compared to the Filipino American children who grew up and it became active duty. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it has been a big thing, and I not per se I hate I don't dislike the Filipino. I'm not saying I don't dislike the clubs. I don't find it as a priority of mine to really get involved with them at the moment, at least.
That's making me kind of think about the veterans organizations too. We had a VFW
Yeah.
right
Okay.
outside of the base in San Angelo,
Yes.
and I went and I did a story or two with those guys when I was stationed there, because I actually during PT, our physical training sessions in the mornings,
Yeah.
I would spend like 10 minutes in the gym, and then I'd go sit in a sauna. And I'd end up sitting in the sauna for an hour with two older veterans from like the Vietnam era
Yes.
who were very heavily involved with the VFW. And they would always talk to me about these younger kids who are just stuck on the base and they don't ever get out. And all they need to do is go down to the VFW and talk to all these other older vets and share experiences and stories and get a free meal.
Yes. Yes.
And they were like almost begging to get people in their doors so they could, not just broaden their organization and get their membership up, but just so they could have people to talk to with the same experiences.
Yes. Yes.
But I think that's still sort of fading away.
Yeah. Yeah. We kind of, I don't know, I guess sometimes we alienate each other with different experiences, and sure,
I don't know what kids want these days.
I don't know.
They want likes on their
They do.
Instagrams.
They do. They do. The BuzzFeeds and whatnot.
And Tide laundry detergent pods.
I didn't know that was. I didn't know that was a problem.
The Tide detergent?
I didn't know people were eating that stuff.
It's getting awful. It's so out of this world bizarre. I don't understand it. You got kids putting detergent in bongs and just
I didn't.
chewing them in their mouths, and
I didn't know that.
it's getting out of
You
hand.
know how when we grew up, you played Truth and Dare. I felt like
No.
it's like.
We have a different childhood.
But I feel like it's like a Truth or Dare online, and they're just kind of like who can do the coolest thing and
The
whatnot.
dumbest thing.
Yeah,
Who can do the dumbest thing? You had to before just hide your detergent pods from
Yeah.
the kids, the toddlers, and the babies. But now you've got to hide them from your teenagers
Because they're gonna.
who can actually go out and buy the detergent themselves at the store down the street.
They're gonna make it viral. They're gonna put it online.
So weird.
I remember YouTube when we were in high school. I know it was just starting. All I remember, like, YouTube was just made for like those funny videos and like skateboard bails. Like people falling off the skateboard. Like Johnny Knoxville stuff. That's what I thought
Yeah.
YouTube was about. But now people are just doing their own stuff now.
They're doing everything on YouTube.
Oh, I was gonna ask you. Did you did you keep in touch with the news about that Logan Paul, that the guy who took a video of the suicide?
See, I really try to go out of my way to avoid a lot of this stuff
Yeah.
that is circulating in the news
Yeah.
and on the social medias. But I did catch that because it was a pretty big story.
Yeah.
So when I was at work, I kind of got roped into it a little bit. And
Yeah.
it's crazy. I watched a video yesterday, and that kid is so offensive, and his following is absurdly dedicated.
Exactly. It makes you want to re-examine YouTube and how they how do they control their talents or whatnot. Their people that post. If he can do that, then I'm sure anyone else can. So it's just,
well, that's the problem is this a free speech issue? Like,
yeah.
can he do that and offend people? And I saw this other video it was like a montage of him doing all these activities in Tokyo.
Yeah, they said if you thought that was bad, check this out. I was like, oh my god. It was the Gaijin Smash, the one you said, Gaijin Smash.
Gaijin Smash, yes. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go into all of the issues that we've had with Japan, stemming from Okinawa and the Marines down there, the Navy reservists that came in and did some horrible things that put us on a curfew.
Yeah.
But when you have those kinds of problems with our military over there, and then you bring in some idiot kid, they're really not going to like us.
Not at all. Not at all.
Gives us a big black eye.
It just reinforces it. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want to talk about? I mean, we've covered quite a bit. What's the rest of your day like? What do you got going on? You've got this study day.
I'm going to be studying, and then that's pretty much it. And then tomorrow I'm going to be doing a reserve job too. I'm do you know that when you go to your UTA, the one that logs you in?
Yes.
That's my job. And I'm like the UTA scheduler too. So on the weekdays, I go there, and people that want to reschedule their UTAs to a different time, they give in paperwork. Well, I do all the data entry and payroll stuff too for the squadron. So that's going to be my next couple of days.
I see.
Yeah. And
that sounds kind of fun though.
Yeah. They pay me for it and everything. So it's like a little it's a part-time gig.
Yeah, I'm sure it can get older a little bit.
So, that's Dom. I had to let him get back in the books. He was very nice enough to take a break from studying to record this conversation, so I thank him for that. And I thank you for listening and supporting the Boots Off podcast. The BOP is still on Twitter, still on Facebook. We are on iTunes and now Google Play. So please continue to listen, join me every month, and spread the word if you can. I'm always looking for future guests if you are interested, or if you know someone who might be interested in coming on and talking about their military experiences, what led them to the military, how they transitioned out of the military, and, the success and failures even that they're finding these days post-military service. So just send me a message over one of the social accounts, like I said, Twitter, Facebook, however you can get a hold of me. And stay tuned for the next Boots Off podcast coming next month in February.